I think that you have to go to a subscription model.
Dan Wu, as of 2017, you are currently engaged in branded journalism as the executive editor of Wells Fargo Stories.com. You've been the executive editor of CBSNews.com and helped to start up and conceive of the CBS News N, or CBSN, the CBS News digital channel. You were head of video for an all-digital daily news magazine created by Ruppert Murdoch and Steve Jobs called The Daily. And of course, you spent 27 years at ABC News, working your way up from the bottom to be senior producer for GMA 2020 and special events. Welcome, Dan Wu, to TV News Insights and Ideas. What would be your opening insight on TV news today?
Well, I mean, I think today, of course, everyone knows that it's under a extreme budget crisis, and that at the same time that viewership is dropping, and a lot of people don't see a great bright future for TV news. And I think that TV news, or video news, I think it should be called now, is evolving. It's going digital, like we're doing it now, and it's going to be the news you want, when you want it, where you want it. It's not going to be you have to go home and watch it from your TV set at 6:30 anymore, or 7 o'clock in the morning. But I think it has a bright future, but it's going to evolve, just like radio had to evolve when TV came along, or newspapers had to evolve when TV and radio came along. This is with the new digital age is bringing new technology and new ways of getting to your audience.
You've been involved in that. We've spoken about that before. So tell me a little bit about the digital news channel and how you think that represents the future.
Well, I think it's an evolutionary step, but the digital news channel that I was involved in, it's CBSN. It's at CBSNews.com, and what it does is, as opposed to just being like TV, it's nonlinear. You can choose, if you don't like the story that they're telling you at the time, you can choose what story, you can choose from the last hour of stories what you want to see or hear, and then you can choose them, and you're the producer. You're picking the programming. So if you don't want to hear the latest story about Donald Trump, but you want to hear about what's going on, in Syria, you can do that, and that's I think that and the great thing about it is you don't have to do it from your TV. You can, or from your computer, but you can do it on your iPhone. So you can watch it on your commute if you have a good enough internet connection. And I think that's how the technology is going to change. Internet connections are going to get better, so you're going to be able to get HD TV on your iPad or your iPhone anywhere you go. So you're not going to have to just watch a half hour of GMA before you rush out the door. You can take it with you.
It all seems to be exciting news on the technological front. But as you know, many of our colleagues despair the state of TV news today in terms of its credibility, its news selection, and its public trust. What is your view of those?
Well, I mean, I think that as the money gets harder, like the networks are doing anything to get an audience. So, I think the one network that's sort of trying to stay the course and be, very hard news and be a more traditional network and give you traditional news is actually right now CBS. But I think that you're seeing, while you're seeing other people trying to do more entertainment news to get ratings and things like that, I think you're also seeing other people entering the marketplace. Like, I think that you'll see, and because the cost of entry is so much lower now. Like, anybody with an iPhone and a Facebook account or Skype can report from anywhere in the world practically. So you're seeing these kind of like that's how Vice started. just people with very minimal equipment going to places that the networks wouldn't
Well,
go.
that exactly is what a lot of people are worried about. That there are huge numbers of people out there with little cameras, but they're not journalists and they're
And
not trained in the kind of news ethics that you may have been trained in.
right, and I think that that's why that when Donald Trump talks about a lot of fake news out there, I think that's a lot. That's a lot of it. But I think in that environment, I remember once when I was at ABC, somebody told me that we weren't afraid of the 300 channel universe. We're afraid of the 100 channel universe. So the more people voices that are out there, the more people are going to turn to the more traditional sources where people know that where the truth lies, or where they're going to get an honest account of the news. And that's what the networks are. That's what the New York Times is. That's what the Wall Street Journal is. And I think people will keep on turning to those things. That doesn't mean that some other group isn't going to evolve and become one of those. Just like I think ABC News and CBS News kind of developed, in and around the New York Times. I think, I like, for instance, HBO is trying to do this whole thing with Vice TV. They're having an evening news show, and I think they're having a lot of challenges there. But I think that you'll see other media sources evolve and become major
Would you agree that
players.
TV news used to be a generally trusted source of news? And
Absolutely.
how do you see it now and in the future, given what you said in the last few moments?
I think that right now there's a lot of challenges business wise, and that's why they're going for the ratings. But I think that look look at CBS this morning, and I think that's a great example because basically it's a hard news morning show. Hardly do any celebrity news. They actually interview CEOs. When they do celebrity, when a movie comes out, they'll actually not just interview the star but the director, which you hardly ever see on the Today Show or GMA. And they're doing hard news. And if you look at their ratings, they've had their viewership grow every year for the last 5 or 6 years. And you can't say that about GMA, although their ratings are much higher. And you can't say that about the Today Show. So I think people are looking for news. There's a market for there. That's why the good journalism exists in the first place because people want it. And I think that people just have to know where to find it, and they've been finding it there. That's why their ratings have been increasing. And I think that people will find, like, look at the CBSN. I mean, during the election, their ratings and viewership went way up. It doubled and in some cases tripled from the earlier audiences. And I think because there's a hunger there for that kind of news, and also the kind of news that you can choose what you want. And I think that the market's there. I think that what will happen is that the business models will have to be adjusted towards how to pay for it. And I think that's the challenge. I mean, one thing that the Daily had was, they had a very cheap subscription rate, but you had to buy it. I mean, it
What
was a
would be
dollar a
your
week.
idea in that regard?
And well, I think that because of the technology these days, you can. I think that you have to go to a subscription model because I think that look, CBSN has limited resources. It would be a whole lot better if it could, have a little bit more money. And if people, I think that if you could pay for it through the great thing about the Daily was you could pay through it for iTunes, so it's very painless. And because like, look, even the New York Times is under a paywall now. Newspapers can't exist without that. And the Wall Street Journal did it a long time ago, and that's why they're in much better shape. I think that maybe that's the evolution for television. That they're going to have to have an online product and sell it to people. And look, people pay money for the subscriptions for the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and newspapers. And technically, they also pay for that when they buy their cable TV bundle. But I think that we can, or news organizations can sell it to people in small chunks, like a dollar a
Interesting
week.
idea. We'll see. We'll see. Dan Wu, former network TV executive and longtime colleague, thank you very much for your contribution to TV news, insights, and ideas. And thanks for all your support for those of us in the field in some pretty uncomfortable places sometimes. Thank you, Dan, very much. The issues are profound and urgent, solutions critical to a free society. If you believe that you can contribute insights and ideas for the future of video news, we'd like to hear from you. You might have the next big vision. Book your Skype interview by emailing me, mikeleenews@mac.com. mikeleenews@mac.com. TV News, Insights and Ideas is a not-for-profit project by Mike Lee. It is not limited to any one news organization. Newsmakers are also invited to submit insights and ideas. Bring your game.